Sudden infant death syndrome, commonly referred to as SIDS, usually occurs in apparently healthy babies. It is the leading cause of death in infants from 1 month to 1 year old.
SIDS, or sudden infant death syndrome, is defined as a sudden death of an infant under 1 year of age that remains unexplained after a complete investigation, including an autopsy, examination of the death scene, and a review of the medical records or the clinical history of the infant.
I'm sure that in my lifetime I'll never experience a day that's more devastating than the day that I lost my firstborn son. Just 8 hours before we were at the doctor's office. He was perfectly healthy. He was 2 pounds heavier than his twin. He was a big, happy, healthy baby boy. And suddenly he was gone without explanation. We'll never know what happened to him. We cried. We cried and we sang and we held each other until the funeral directors arrived. We knew it was time to say goodbye to him. And I held my son in a blanket that I still have today. And I don't use it for anything. I can't.
Even though we don't know what causes SIDS, parents and caregivers can help reduce their infant's risk of SIDS by ensuring that the child is placed in a safe sleep environment every time that they're placed down to sleep.
Babies should be put to sleep on firm surfaces, preferably mattresses that fit snugly inside safety-approved cribs. We should never use cribs that are older than 10 years because 10 years ago, we didn't have the same kind of safe standards for cribs that we have now. It should be able to withstand what I call the 10-pound sack test. You want to take a 10-pound sack of sugar or flour, set it on the mattress for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, when you lift up that sack, if there's any indentation left in the mattress, we have to get rid of that mattress and get a new mattress. Anything that's soft and fluffy that a baby's sleeping on, if the baby rolls over onto their stomach on their own, soft and fluffy things can trap that baby's carbon dioxide.
In the crib, there should be no stuffed animals, toys, or loose bedding that would pose a risk for infants. The child should not be overbundled. Overheating is also a risk factor for SIDS.
We need to remember what we call the 1-to-1 rule. If we're going to sleep and we're wearing one layer of clothing, or if we're wearing our pajamas, then we should have our babies in just one layer of pajamas also. And keeping in mind that the first layer is actually considered to be that onesie. Okay, so a onesie and a pajama is okay. We're trying to get into the habit of having our babies dressed in sleep clothing as opposed to putting comforters or blankets into the crib.
And now the new recommendations say that the baby should sleep in the parent's room, but not in the parent's bed, because in the parent's bed they risk overlay and other problems, entrapment.
We want them to be able to breastfeed the baby and bond and cuddle, but once that baby's finished nursing, mom should be able to take that baby out of that environment and place them into their own safe sleeping environment, preferably one that's right next to her bed.
One of the things that parents want to know about, they think that sleeping on their tummy is safer because a baby might spit up or get choked when they're sleeping on their back, so they think it might cause them to be at risk. But because of the information and research that we have done, we find that babies do not typically choke when they are sleeping on their back.
5 life-threatening things can happen when babies are simply put to sleep on their stomach. We found that they can run into the carbon dioxide rebreathing risk. We found that when a baby's on their stomach, it causes an inability for their heart to be able to pump blood efficiently throughout their body. So it interferes with that baby's cardiac output, causing the baby's body temperature to rise. It can also cause the baby's heart to race. And depending on where the baby turns their head, their windpipe can be blocked and blood flow can be blocked from their heart to their brain. So oftentimes parents, especially our grandparents, because this is what they did 20, 30, 40 years ago with their babies, they were told by the medical doctors that they should put babies on their stomachs to sleep. But from research, we found that stomach sleeping is extremely dangerous.
Some of the risk factors that many parents don't know about would be smoking. We really encourage parents not to smoke. We want them to know that secondhand smoke can also be a risk factor. It is, there has been research shown that babies who are around smoke are twice as likely to have the incidence of SIDS.
There are racial disparities in the rates of SIDS in the United States. African Americans and American Indian and Alaska Native infants are at 2 to 2.5 times the risk of SIDS compared to the national average. Part of the disparity may be due to the fact that fewer African Americans are placed to sleep on their back, which is the preferred position, compared to other infants of other races. For instance, in 2003, the National Infant Sleep Position Study found that 55% of African American infants were placed to sleep on their backs, while 75% of white infants were placed to sleep on their backs.
There are many resources out there for parents when they want to ask questions about the safety of their cribs or mattresses at home. Many of those phone numbers are available at the time they purchase a crib or a bassinet. The information can be on the receipt that they receive or the manufacturer's document. There are websites that they can go to with consumer product safety. There's the National Kids Campaign. Those numbers are available through the web or through information. And they can also call their county health department and ask for some of the numbers that are available for checking on reducing the risk of SIDS for their babies.
There are a number of support groups that are available for parents that have lost children, whether through miscarriage, stillbirth, early infant death and SIDS, or later in life. Compassionate Friends, all kinds of groups. Right now, many folks are relying on web-based chat rooms to talk with other parents who have lost children, and also telephone support is really important. We're very spread out, commutes are hard, and so there are a lot of different ways for folks to take advantage of getting the support they need.
If any of us comes in contact with anything that can harm any of our family members, any of our friends, it becomes our responsibility to be watchmen, to be able to realize that there's a risk. It becomes our responsibility to tell others so that we won't lose the loss of loved ones. And that's what I've become. I found that as a newly bereaved parent, people are afraid to listen. They don't know what to say. They're afraid that they're going to say the wrong thing to you and cause you to double back in your grief. So peer contacts are wonderful people. They are SIDS parents who have taken the time to be trained by certified peer contact advisors, and they learn the support skills that are needed to help our newly bereaved parents make it through the day, make it through the week, make it through the month, and carry on with life.